Thank you, Scott. Last fall, we introduced Copilot Studio to enable you to do two things: easily extend Microsoft Copilot and create your own copilots. These copilots can be applied to many internal processes to streamline employee operations, things like HR, compliance, or to go create a copilot to better engage your customers. And best of all, these copilots can be published anywhere you want. That's inside Microsoft 365 or Teams, or inside of your web and mobile applications. And this year at Build, we have some exciting Copilot Studio announcements. Copilots evolved from working alongside you to also working for you. What that means is proactively and independently, the new agent capabilities make it so Copilot Studio can unlock your copilots to automate tasks asynchronously and in the background. Copilot's so much more than a chatbot now. And you can provide your copilot with a defined task, equip it with public and enterprise data sources, and then Copilot will orchestrate dynamic workflows to automate them end to end. And this is best seen in a live demo, so let me show you. So over here, we're looking at Fabricam, which is a fictitious telecommunications company. Fabricam helps its customers, which are businesses and consumers, get new phones and change their plans all the time. And to do that, they have a great website, but they wanted to go beyond a website and have a copilot for their customers. So what they've done is they've embedded a great customer copilot right inside here. And what I can see is I have a path where I can say if I'm a new or an existing customer, and I'm going to go say I'm a new customer. And in this case, it's offering to compare my current plan with what Fabricam can offer me. So what it tells me is I just can upload my last bill from my current carrier. Then the Copilot will read through the bill, the plans that Fabricam offers, and then let me know what I can switch to save the most money and even improve my experience. And I happen to have a bill handy from Contoso phone carrier. And if we look here, I have 3 lines, I have a data plan, and I end up paying about $232 per month. And Fabricam can definitely do better than that. So I come back over here, upload that file I just showed you, let the Copilot know I've uploaded everything that I want, and it will come back and give me a recommendation. And what's great here is it's been able to look through that bill, and it knows that I pay $230 per month. It's been able to look through Fabricam's internal documents to know I can get a plan for $150 per month, which means I can save almost $1,000 a year. This type of conversational, natural experience is something that really you can only do with a Copilot. And that seems like it will take a lot of work, but I'll show how you can build all of that inside of Copilot Studio. So I switch over here. Inside Copilot Studio, we have a bunch of templates you can get started with available, or you can even use natural language to describe what you want your Copilot to do, and it will start laying out the framework and scaffolding. I only have 5 more minutes, so I'm just going to jump to one that I've pre-built before. And you can see this is that customer Copilot for Fabricam inside of Copilot Studio. And what you do to define these copilots is you provide instructions, which are like the metaprompts, the guardrails and guidelines for your copilot. You're then able to go configure your knowledge sources, which is what Copilot uses for context and information. Things called topics, which I'll cover in a second, and then actions, where you can enable your Copilot to go run workflows or do things in the background. And then what happens is we use the large language model and the orchestrator to self-assemble these actions, this knowledge, these topics, these instructions, to answer any question that a customer comes in with, which is why the Copilot's so capable and you can build it very quickly. Now, let's go look at that knowledge in more detail. So in my case, for the demo, I already have a few different knowledge sources registered. I have my public website, I have some SharePoint sites, I have a PDF I've uploaded, and of course I use Dataverse on the back end. And all of this is automatically have its embeddings generated, stored in a vector database that supports semantic search, semantic query, and that just happens for me for free. I don't have to worry about those details. And I can go bring other knowledge sources. So if I want more than those ones, I can use Microsoft Fabric, Azure Data Services, SAP, ServiceNow, you name it, you can bring into your Copilot. So this is what the Copilot uses to answer those questions and figure out how to execute over time. Now, I don't just want my Copilot to be about Q&A. I also want my Copilot to be able to take actions. And you can see here, I already have a bunch of registered actions like payment gateway connector, where I can actually generate links for customers to pay, or I can look up customer history and more. So a really rich set of functions that your Copilot can use. And what's great is we have over 1,400 connectors available in Copilot Studio to systems in the cloud and on-premise, so you can get access and run actions and workflows no matter where your data is. And what's great about that is if we don't have a connector, you also have the ability to register Azure API endpoints. And what I've done is I want to use this Azure API for device trade-in. And you'll see this in a little bit in Seth's demo later in the keynote, where this API will be invoked by the Copilot to help a customer trade in their phone for a new one. And if there's ever anything you want to bring, you can go use any of those Azure application services Scott was talking about right inside of Copilot Studio. Now, knowledge and actions are great, but they're a little non-deterministic. And what we hear from customers is that first 80% of your Copilot is really easy to build as a result. But there's that last 20%, the super important workflows you want to control. And for that, you can use topics. So in the case of, say, a device trade-in, I want to have exact control of the dialogue flow and the conversation with my customer. And we can see that this topic will only trigger for any of these dialogues or queries from the customer. That way, I can run a very specific workflow, which maybe calls APIs and gives particular dialogues based on what the user's trying to do for that device trade-in. This ability to have kind of generalized orchestration and self-assembly and overrides and topics makes your Copilot super powerful, super quickly, without having to compromise on the overall experience. And once I've configured all of that, I can then go publish to tons of different channels. In my case, I've used a custom website, of course, to embed it for Fabricam, but you can use all kinds of other digital channels. And before you even publish it, you can also easily test right inside of Copilot Studio. So if I look over here, this is that same conversational experience I saw on my website. I can simulate before I go live. So all of this comes together for an incredibly robust Copilot experience. But what we've really internalized over the last year is you don't just want your Copilot to chat or have a conversation. You also want your Copilot to be able to run in the background, to run asynchronously and execute workflows. And that's what makes a Copilot have agent capabilities. So what we're excited to announce at Build this year is you can now register triggers for your Copilot. So triggers allow data events from a database or an application to start execution of your Copilot. And what happens is instead of a conversation being the prompt, it's the data from the trigger that becomes the prompt for the Copilot. And these can run in the background, which is a little tricky to show on stage. So I'm going to go to one that ran earlier. And you can see here, I can track all the steps that my Copilot took in the background. So if a user requests to change to Fabricam, I can do things like validate their user identity or look up and send the discounts. And I can understand why the Copilot took that action. I can see the thought process and the reasoning that went into those steps. So you can build these incredibly powerful Copilots. They can run talking to a customer or in the background, and you can understand what's driving its behavior. And this is what is important on day 100 or day 1,000 when you're trying to optimize your Copilot more and more. So a great set of capabilities for Fabricam. But this was a fictitious example for Fabricam, but many other customers have used Copilot Studio. In fact, over 30,000 organizations have already used Copilot Studio, and it's been growing 175% quarter over quarter. PG&E is one of the largest gas and electric companies in the US, and they built a Copilot which manages nearly 40% of calls to their IT help desk in Copilot Studio. And Cineplex, a leading media and entertainment company in Canada, built a Copilot for customer service agents, which reduced their handling time for customer queries from 15 minutes to 30 seconds. These are just a few examples. We're incredibly excited to see what you build with Copilot Studio, and thank you so much for the time today. Back to you, Scott.